Hey up everybody, welcome to the Audi Cycling YouTube channel where today I am going to be previewing Kuurne Brussels Kuurne, the second race of the opening weekend, which is going to be happening this weekend, so we're all very excited for this. Of course, Kuurne is kind of deemed to be the easier of the two, perhaps also termed a Sprinters Classic, kind of like Scheldepers, but it's actually not that easy of a parkour when you look at it. Lots of hills in the kind of earlier part, and the reason why it's called a Sprinters Classic mainly is because of the lack of hills towards the end of it. But when you look at the last 6 editions of this, way back to when Jasper Stuyven won this in 2016, I think, 3 of the last 6 editions have been won by a solo winner, so that's certainly not a possibility that can be ruled out this year, especially with a couple of strong riders going into this race. And another thing to note is that the tailwind section, there will be somewhat of a cross tailwind section from the last climb kind of going into Kuurne, so that will favour attacks from really strong kind of TT riders. And there's also going to be perhaps a crosswind section after the Kleisberg, kind of along this section, so watch out for that. There could be some action around there with say 50 kilometers to go. Of course Quickstep would likely be involved in that, and speaking of Quickstep, I think they come in with probably the strongest team considering that they have options with attackers and a sprinter. They've got Jakobsen, of course, as their main sprinter, and then I think they've got a couple of options in terms of attackers as well. I think Lampard is a great option. I know that I said he wasn't going to look too good for Omley, but I think that this race would suit him a lot. He looked very good at the Volta Algarve on the last stage where he was helping Evenepoel, and also Yannick Steimler would be a great option for them on the attack as well. It depends whether he's kind of going to be the person to lock up all the breakaway moves earlier on, but I think Lampard provides a great option, and then they could sit in with Jakobsen. If Lampard or another Quickstep rider gets into a move during that crosswind section, which I think may happen, it's only like a 10 mile an hour 18km/h wind, that would really put a lot of teams under a lot of strain who have some of the other main sprinter favourites like Lotto Soudal, Rabrin Caleb Ewan, who has missed the UAE Tour to do this race, I guess in favour of getting more UCI points. He of course won a sprint at the Tour de Alpes Maritime du Var. I'm wondering whether Caleb Ewan is perhaps leaning more towards being better at climbing, so therefore how fast is his pure sprint going to be. Stuyven's here from Trek Segafredo. He won the race, like I said, 6 years ago. So Alexander Kristoff Intermarché, who of course won the Classica Almeria literally last week, and also some good results for the Volta Algarve recently. AG2R really come not really with a sprinter but with a very attacking team, so whether Greg and Ollie Nason can get some attacks going, I'm not overly sure, but they don't really have a sprinter in their ranks. Brian Coquard, I think he'd favour perhaps a bit of a tougher race. He's been doing well on terrain which is quite lumpy, almost Puncher-esque from Coquard. I'm not really sure if this race will be selective enough for Coquard to get a good result, but I still expect him to be up there fighting, definitely for a podium place. Jordi Meus, the big Belgian for Bora Hansgrohe, this race suits him a lot. I think that they'd be riding for him quite strongly, especially with the likes of Marco Haller, Nils Pollitt and Lucas Postelberger. That's a really strong supporting outfit as well. Matej Mohoric and Sonny Colbrelli, not the fastest in a finish. They would certainly get smoked by the likes of a Jakobsen, so what can they do? Mohoric might be somebody who again tries to attack in a bit of a crosswind section with a Lampard, and that would be a very dangerous move. EF Easy Post don't really bring anybody over. Owen Doull did finish on the podium this race a few years ago. Stefan Kung would be another rider I'd expect to attack early, perhaps with about 30 kilometers to go, then use that cross tailwind section to his advantage to try and get away. Of course, that move wouldn't work if it didn't contain a Quickstep rider, because they would probably shut it down. But they have some very strong and fast finishers like Lewis Askey, Kevin Genietz and Jake Stewart. Genietz of course did a good sprint at the Tour de Alpes Maritime du Var. Israel Primatek will favour a sprint as well. Giacomo Nizzolo and Corbin Strong would be their options there. Jumbo-Visma, Olaf Koit is on this race, preliminary, but he is at the UAE Tour at the moment, so I'm not sure how accurate that is. But Christophe Laporte would be another great option for them. Maybe even Mike Tennyson or Tosh van der Sande. Again, not the fastest sprinters, so they would probably get beaten by the likes of Jakobsen. Aram Barou, I guess, is the fastest guy from Movistar. Bike Exchange, maybe like Dion Smith. Tim Merlier is fast, but I don't think he's faster than Jakobsen at the moment, so they would perhaps be leaning on Quickstep to try and close moves down, and then they can benefit from that. Covey's been looking good at the Ruta del Sol recently. DSM, I'm not really sure who they'd go with. Maybe probably Degenkolb or Akoff. Amari Capio would be a great shout, I think, because he won the GP Marseillaise earlier this year, and he's in flying form and a couple of good results at the Tour of Oman recently, a third and a fourth. You know, he's really doing really well. I think this race will be really good for him. UNOX, Christopher Halverson, and also Søren Vanskjold. Of course, I made a video about Søren Vanskjold, so if you haven't seen that, it's only like 5 minutes long, go check it out. I describe why he's probably going to be a Classics winner in the future. Peter Sagan, again, but he got dropped the other day at the Tour de Alps Maritime de Var, so I'm not really sure what's going on with him. Timothy DuPont, and that's about it really. As far as I can tell, with the lack of wind and also kind of the easiest terrain, my expectation is that there will be some sort of in the gutter crosswind action in that section like I described, somewhat around here with 50 kilometers to go. That will launch an attack. Cross tailwind sections are also very good for splitting up races as well, and I expect Quick-Step to get somebody like Lampard in a move, probably with a couple of other riders, but although the race might be split apart a little bit, I think there's enough time for the other strong sprinter teams, namely Lotto Soudal and Alpecin Phoenix, maybe even somebody like Cofidis. They would probably bring back that move, and then it will be a sprint. That's my expectation for this race, just because it's not very rainy or like a particularly tough day out by the looks of things. Because of that, and with Quick-Step being able to sit in with having a guy in the move, they also have a really strong lead out of Seneschal, Bert van Leeuwenberger, Yannick Stibar, Yannick Steimler, like all fantastic guys who go into Grand Tour lead outs. I expect Jakobsen to be winning this race after the move of Yves Lampard gets brought back. But I think in second place will be Caleb Ewan. He is looking really, really fast at the moment. I think he's really lining up for Milan San Remo, but I don't think he will be fast enough to beat Jakobsen, who just has that bigger bulk and more power, I think. And then in third place, I think that Amaury Capio for Team Arkea Samsic will come in third place. I think that might be a bit of a surprise. Third place, I think, will be a really good result for him. I think that Arkea are looking really on a roll at the moment, especially with Quintana picking up some good victories at the moment as well. So that is my preview of Kuurne Brussels Kuurne. Let me know if you think anybody else will finish on the podium or how you think the race is going to pan out. And all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Salut!